What is up, guys? It's One Lone Nerd here. It is currently Autism Awareness Month, and I myself am autistic. So I thought today I'd share my experiences with autism with you, and sort of how I feel I turned my disability into an ability in a lot of ways. I will be talking about my mental health throughout this video, so if that's not your sort of thing, there's other videos for you. But also, if you're autistic, the one thing that I'd like to say before I start is never be ashamed of it. We can't help who we are unless we want to change it. It's not a bad thing. It's honestly amazing in a lot of ways. But yeah, I'd love to talk about it, so let's go off. But quickly before I start, my experience will be unique to me. Yours might be unique to you. No one experiences autism the same. There are only common symptoms. To one person, they might not be able to stand light. For me, I can't stand big sounds or certain feelings. I'm okay with light. Thank God, considering YouTube's a career I want to go into. Um, but yeah, you are not alone if you have autism. I know that your brain will trick you into that in a lot of ways, but don't fall for it. To start this video, it won't be a diagnosis journey since I did not go through that. As long as I have known myself, I have known I've had autism. I was diagnosed at quite a young age. But I do want to talk about the issues with young women and getting diagnosed because a lot of autism symptoms do not get recognised in women. It is a struggle for everyone to get diagnosed, but with women, it is a lot harder to be recognised. So, another way the system fucks over women. So growing up, I never really looked into it. I only knew what people knew and how they related to me. I couldn't exactly Google it at the time, and even if I could, I couldn't read. I think until around the age of 8 or 9, I was completely mute. I didn't say anything. I spoke in my own little language. I couldn't really read until I want to say year 7. It was a really tricky thing because I never knew what was different with me. Because when you live that life, you live it every day. You don't know that it's abnormal to a neurotypical person. You just wake up and you get upset because the light's too bright, or you don't have your safe food on hand, and you're like, this is normal to me, but people don't recognize that, and that is the most frustrating experience. And I think for me, while I was in school until I really looked into it, was where it felt like a disability to me, where you'd always be in social groups but on the outskirts, never quite fully a member. And that's where a lot of my issues came from. Like, I think a lot of that caused me to have what I do now with my anxiety and depression. It's that feeling of never feeling like you're a true member of a group because you always have to leave parties early because they're too loud. You can never quite engage in the same way as your peers can. And it's honestly a heartbreaking experience because there are definitely nights I would cry myself to sleep just wishing that I could be normal. And I hid a lot of this from people because I felt like it was just me being wrong, feeling the wrong things. And now knowing what I know, that's absolutely heartbreaking to me because, I mean, with this stuff, I wouldn't know what was wrong, so I wouldn't know how to remedy it. I wouldn't understand that it's okay to get upset by loud noises, certain social situations, and it's not just me being a pussy, it's me getting overstimulated and overwhelmed. Um, and when you don't know where the issue's coming from or that it's okay, you don't want to treat it. So, I mean, I'd get things like panic attacks where I'd feel like I can't breathe, your throat's closing. And it's not just that with a panic attack, it's the feeling of nothing is safe. Like, I could be around my mother, who was my safe person for most of my life and still in a lot of ways is, and not feel safe in a sense of nothing feels safe when you're having a panic attack. It feels like everything you've ever known in your life that makes you feel okay is crumbling beneath you. And it's truly a terrifying feeling. I think anyone who's had a panic attack can sort of relate, and growing up that was very difficult. But eventually I became a lot more aware and a lot more active within my own mental health. there's sort of a few really dark points where I was like, I want to do something about this. So then, sort of within my points of year 10, year 11 within school, year 10 was where most of my dark points were. Year 11 was getting there. But I decided to take an active role into sort of looking into what what is actually autism, because I hear the words getting said, but I don't know what they mean. And I mean, honestly, looking into it and realizing you aren't alone in a lot of these feelings is so euphoric in such a way. Because when you spend your whole life feeling like no one could possibly understand, and you realize there's actually thousands of people who can, is it's honestly the best feeling I've ever had. And I won't lie, sort of after that, I was pushing myself. So I'm like, okay, if these are my issues, here's the things I can do to work around them. So I think I spoke about this before. I was on a certain youth board for a while, and to get to where my meetings were, I'd have to get the tube. And the tube was one of my biggest phobias for most of my life. Um, it's so overwhelming, the tube. It's claustrophobic, it's loud, it's hot. I still don't very much like it, but I was pushing myself because then once a month I'd have to do a 45-minute tube journey, which to your neurotypical person it's not as big of a thing, but to me that was a massive step in my life. And it's the one I'm happy I've taken. I'm even going to new places on my own. It was terrifying, and it's not been a straightforward journey. There are points where I was like, I just want to give up, where I'd get on the tube, I'd go to my meetings, and I'd just get off halfway through, have a panic attack, go home and give up on that day. It is not a straightforward journey. I think it took me about 3 years to get comfortable within that. And it was a hard experience. But at that point, I left school, I believe, towards the end of that. For the first year of that, I was still in school, but after that, I had left school. And after I left school, my time was my own. There was some issues with my college where I wasn't quite ready for mainstream college because of the social aspects. They would have been too overwhelming for me. It would have been jumping headfirst into a shark pool, but it was something I wanted to work up to. And there were no special needs slash disability courses that I could realistically take that would be enriching to me. And when I finally found that, the council turned around to me like, you are not doing that, we are not funding an out of borough college. And that was heartbreaking because it was the course I wanted to do with my whole heart at the time. It was a media course. So through that time I had a lot of free time. My time was my own in a lot of ways. So that's when I honestly really was getting into YouTube stuff. Now, this has always been my dream. I know my upload schedule probably doesn't reflect that, but with YouTube, the videos I make are my choice. The times I work are on my own, because I have a sleep disorder as well, which makes keeping a sleep schedule horrible for me, along with my ADHD. I just think me and a good sleep schedule were not meant to be. I've tried sleeping tablets, I've tried everything, nothing really helps. It's just keeping consistent patterns for me. But with YouTube, it's a career I feel confident in. And with this is where I feel like I turn my disabilities into my abilities. So I'm not saying that I went over to YouTube so that I could just shut myself in, because that is not it. I love going out now. Sometimes it's terrifying, but when I enjoy it, it makes me happy. I enjoy going to bars, trying cocktails, even going shopping. It's a very generic thing. I enjoy going to restaurants with my partner, family. I enjoy traveling. I love it so much now. It is still scary, but this is not me saying that I did YouTube so I could become a shut-in. I did YouTube because it was everything that I needed and wanted in a career. I wanted to do a film course. I couldn't, so I started teaching myself how to edit. And within autism, there's a certain thing called hyperfixations. So I turned learning how to edit into my hyperfixation. It's not the healthiest thing, and that definitely reflects in my work now, where I'll spend a week on a video and not like it because there's like 1 or 2 imperfections. but it's done more good than harm. Where even with the Halloween series, I don't think I left the house for a month. I was so obsessed with getting that done. I didn't quite finish it, but I'm still really proud of myself. And with this, it's sort of owning what you have and not fighting against it, but working with it. So if you're autistic and your hyper obsessions trained, don't go and work in a bookstore. Try and find a train store to work in. if what Do what makes you happy, because when autistic people are in roles that bring them happiness, they are never going to want to stop. And when we have an obsession, we tend to keep it. But if we're stuck doing something we hate every day, that is when our headspace slips into a lack of motivation, I've found. So it's finding what you want to do and sort of keeping with it. Now, there is a lot of misinformation online about autism, what it actually is, and my experience definitely isn't everyone's, but for me personally, I'm really happy with how far I've come, because I was in a really dark mental health space. And I know every YouTuber's probably said that, but to me, a lot of things I found comforting are music, art, and it's sort of, when you're in that space, life feels so hopeless. And it's the worst feeling in the world, because you don't know what you've done wrong, but things can never quite seem to go right. And it's honestly, it's a heartbreaking feeling that I feel like most people who are neurodivergent go through. It's that I'm not quite normal, but I don't know why. Because we aren't dumb. We know we don't always fit in things. Like, either you make a dodgy joke or you can't hold back an opinion, and or you don't seem to quite click in the same way everyone does. You don't always want to go clubbing every day. Sometimes you can get mood swings because, I don't know, your favorite porridge brand changed one flavor, and that could ruin your day. It sounds so stupid, but people with autism have heightened senses, so we notice minor changes in things. Like, I think I only used to eat like two foods. I used to eat dinosaur nuggets and plain pasta with cheese, because those were my safe foods. And I think Dino Nuggies changed their fucking flavorings one time. It ruined like a week for me. And I've definitely had a lot of ableism growing up, where teachers wouldn't understand or friends would harass me over it. And it's a hard experience, but you see people going through it, and when you realize you're not alone in this, it does reinforce that feeling of positivity so much. For me, that was a vital moment, I think. I honestly I broke down crying with a lot of this stuff, where I just realized I'm not as alone as I feel, and it's sort of realizing where your brain's telling you these things and what's actually going on. Realizing, okay, I feel a bit different from this group of friends because I think a bit different than most of this group of friends. Whereas they're all thinking about the story that's being told at the moment, I'm thinking about the episode of whatever show I was watching earlier still, and trying to dissect how that works. While they're talking about a new TV show every week. You've watched your same favourite show 5 times that week and you still aren't bored of it. Um, so within finding your social group, because it's something I still struggle with to this day, and I know a lot of people with autism struggle with. It's finding that person who will tell you to shut up and be very blunt with you when they are actually annoyed. You don't need people who are going to be playing mind games with you or trying to manipulate you. Those are definitely not the friends you need. You want someone who's going to sit there with you and spend hours talking with you about dinosaurs or whatever the fuck you want. For me, dinosaurs and Postman Pat used to be my main obsessions. Not gonna lie. But it's finding someone who will sit there and talk about your things with you and be able to listen to it, but also people who will be honest with you about their emotions, because you do not have time to be dealing with people playing 5,000 emotional games. It's not going to help you, it's only going to enable them. You're just going to end up hurt and confused. Trust me, I've done this so you don't have to. I've had many experiences. Um, because with autism, you already are most likely going to suffer with mental health issues, and you don't really need people who are going to only contribute to it. You want people who are going to pull you up and people who are going to say, it's okay that you're different. It's okay to be you because that's who you are and you can't change it. None of us can. And to someone listening to this, I know in your brain you're probably like, yeah, but I'm the exception. I'm really different. I do this really weird thing, but you're not. We all do weird things. We're all different. And, you know, within autism, it is such a community because we've all been through a lot of the same shit and we're all sick of it. There are safe spaces where people can relate. There's probably people who will share your obsessions with you, enjoy the same stuff. And yeah, things do, when you don't understand, seem terrifying. You feel like you could never have a normal life. You're never going to be able to get a job. Like, am I going to be a burden to my loved ones? I've definitely been there, and it hurts because those are the people you love, and you don't know how to help in a lot of those situations. But you are not, because no one is like you. Plus, we are normally the funniest in our family. We have the best sense of humor because we don't know what lines not to cross. But no, you are not a burden 21. Whether you are autistic or it doesn't matter what makes you different. As long as you're not hurting people, and I mean this in the way of intentionally hurting people. But if you are reading out having issues, that's different. Because there is a big thing of anger issues and autism. They are linked because when you get sensory overwhelmed, your body does go into fight or flight. And that's the thing not a lot of people understand is you might have punched someone in the face, but you felt threatened in that situation. You didn't necessarily know they are joking. I've had experiences like that, or where you shove someone too hard because you don't realize. It's a bit of a it is a lot of awkward situations like that. You have the right to a happy life and the life you choose. Quick trigger warning for anyone uncomfortable. We are quickly going to be talking about suicide and self-harm. If you're uncomfortable with this, always, as always, step away, have a break, have a tea, coffee, bath, whatever makes you happy. I think I'm probably gonna end the video after this, but I love you lots. Have a wonderful day. You are at a higher risk of self-harm and suicide. Now we could say there's a billion factors for this. Sorry about my leg. We could say there's a billion factors for this, but I believe it's because as a society, in our mind, we have one way and one way only people can live. And I completely think that that is bullshit, is the only way to say it. People with autism are not bad. They do not mean they aren't lazy. Their brains just function differently to yours. So whereas your brain can go very straightforward, we do not go very straightforward. We're thinking about last night's episode of Rick and Morty. If we've got enough of our safe foods, if what we said in that one social interaction was weird or creepy, or if that friend hates us now, a thousand things. Oh my god, that light's too bright. What is that ticking noise that I cannot find anywhere because the AC unit's on? There is a thousand things going on. So when it is harder to focus on one primary goal, but when we find an obsession or something we genuinely enjoy, we work a lot harder than your average person. Because when something makes us happy, we will stop at no lengths to sort of chase that dopamine rush. Within my experience, because I've worked with a lot of autistic people, they are the most determined people you can meet. When they set their mind on something, it is getting done or someone is dying. So I don't think we should be demonizing autistic people. We should make the world a more livable space for them. And in my opinion, that is hard to do when you have groups going around saying you should give bleach to your autistic child to cure the obvious parasite within them, or J.K. Rowling saying, oh, autistic people can't choose their own gender, they're the only ones who are coming out as gender neutral. It's hard to feel accepted in the world when your base identity is called a disease, a parasite. And I think that is a really toxic thing we just need to get rid of. Sia came out with a movie. It was horrible. Um, but yeah, if you are neurotypical, there are amazing videos I will recommend. I will try and put some in the descriptions. But there are videos of what living life is like to someone suffering with autism disorder. It's not the same for everyone, but I have watched a few of these. They are quite similar, and I think they put a lot of things into perspective. Um, but the main point I want to make is this world should be livable for everyone. If you feel you have autism or you have autism, you are not weird, you are not alone. You're amazing the way you are. If you do have thoughts of self harm or suicide, there are mental health hotlines. I know that everyone thinks they're bullshit, but it does help to talk to someone if you have the courage to. It helps to talk to someone, even if you speak to a friend, a family member, or a professional. The courage it takes to say, I am not feeling okay, is tremendous. I mean, yeah, it's honestly, talking about your issues is the bravest thing you can do. Sorry, it doesn't make you a burden, it doesn't make you an issue. And I feel like within friendships or within your relationship with yourself, acknowledging issues only makes it grow stronger because we do have a relationship with ourselves. We have our inner monologue and our logical brain. Now, we have our inner monologue, which could be telling us 1,000 things, intrusive thoughts. Why did this happen? And then our logical brain, which can tell us, slow down and think about it. Take your time. You don't have to rush. I feel everyone has that, but it's a lot more prevalent within autistic people. My experience will be different because I have autism as well as ADHD, depression, anxiety, sleep disorders. The list only really goes on from there. My experience will not be the same as anyone's, nor would it have been if I just had autism. Like I said, the only thing that makes autistic people linked is common symptoms, and other than that, we are all very different people. We all have different triggers, different problems. If there is an autistic person in your life you would like to be more adapted to, you could ask them their triggers, what makes them upset, what their safe foods are. I know when I have autistic friends in my life, I always make sure to try and stock up on their safe foods, things that can make them feel comfortable within my spaces to make them feel welcome. But obviously, not everyone has to do that, and don't feel bad if you can't. These are just my recommendations. But happy Autistic Awareness Month. I would like any other autistic creators or just autistic people, you don't even have to be a creator, you can just make one video about it. Speak about your experiences because it is not spoke about enough. Share your experience, whether you tweet, fucking make an interpretive video, whatever. Share your experience because it's the only way you're going to be able to spread awareness. If you are neurotypical and you have any questions about anything, please feel free to leave a comment. I will answer as many as I can. Just be respectful, open about it. But feel free to ask questions about it because I am pretty open about it. But yeah, I guess I know I've said it's about 1,000 times. The one thing I want to close with is it can be a disability, but you can also turn it into an ability in a lot of ways. the difference is the difference is fighting against your brain or working with it. Now, I love you guys lots. This whole YouTube thing is me living my dreams on the... I know that my channel's not the biggest, but to me, every video I make, I'm living my dreams. Life's just been very complicated at the moment. But yeah, things are looking up and they will for everyone. You manifest it, it will happen. Um, but yeah, you guys, no one's alone, and there are support systems wherever you look. But I feel like I've been rambling a bit. I hope this video isn't too incoherent. Love you guys lots. Have a wonderful day, and if you are interested, look into this more. But have a lovely day. I will stop rambling now. See you guys later. Bye.